Hi, I'm Christina O'Flaherty. I'm a clinical psychologist in private practice in Washington, D.C., and I've been making a series of videos with things that I've learned from being a therapist, through my training, through my personal experience, and sharing them here. And I've been talking about how to handle emotional upset or emotional distress. And I've talked about how naming a feeling can help you feel a little bit calmer in the face of emotional distress and can give you a little bit of space before you decide how to respond to your feelings. And I've talked about how dropping the storyline behind an emotional experience can sometimes also do the same thing and give us a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of space, and a little bit of calm. It calms down our nervous system and gives us more access to the part of our brain that can help us formulate what to do with a feeling. And the third thing, and this is the most important thing that I think people struggle with most often in therapy, and that is a lot of us have learned to push our feelings away. Sometimes we don't even get to realize that we're feeling something. We have become so good at it that we push things away before we even know what it is that we're feeling. And that creates a lot of problems. It creates a lot of problems in relationships. We're wired to feel, and we're wired to connect with people based on our emotions. We're wired to elicit help and support through our sadness and our vulnerability, and we're wired to be clear about our boundaries when we're feeling angry, and that's a really important piece of communication in a relationship. So it's really hard to talk about feelings without talking about relationships. The one relationship I want to talk to you about today is the relationship you have with yourself when you're feeling something. And this is the third way that we can deal with emotional distress. And that is in a very self-compassionate, kind way. Instead of trying to push away what we're feeling, it's doing the opposite. It's allowing it. It's letting it be there. Now, this does not mean that we need to react based on our feelings. And it also doesn't mean that we should sort of wallow in our emotional experience, although sometimes that does happen. What I'm talking about today is something called self-compassion, and there are three components to it. The first is recognizing that you're feeling distressed, noticing in the moment that you're feeling something, and attending to that, being kind to yourself, being responsive to that feeling the way that you would if a friend came to you and said that they were sad or angry or hurt, and responding to them with that same empathy. This is something that's so hard to do. Saying something to ourselves like, this is a really hard situation. A lot of people would feel upset about this. There's a third component that makes this completely different from self-pity. Completely different from self-pity. And that is recognizing that we are not alone in feeling this kind of pain, and recognizing that this is not a particular, an experience that is particular only to you. That being an emotional human being is a part of life for everybody. For everybody. Everybody feels sadness. Everybody feels hurt, feels rejected, feels angry, feels rage. This is the beauty of being alive. And also part of being alive is that we all suffer in some way. And in fact, to various degrees, we suffer every day. You know, we can't find our car keys and we're running late, or we have an argument with our spouse, or We have two preschoolers, and we're stressed and we're feeling guilty, and this is a part of life. And so it's opening. The third important part about self-compassion is opening to the idea that this emotional experience is not yours alone, that it is a way that commonly people do suffer. And that is the very huge difference between this and self-pity. Self-pity is believing that you are somehow a victim of these feelings, of this experience, that you are being victimized by this particular thing, and that it is particular only to you. So there are the 3 steps, and those are the ways to be with your feelings, to allow them, to notice where they are in your body, what it feels like to be you and angry. Do your muscles clench? Does your throat feel tight? And being with that, being kind to yourself, understanding to yourself in that moment, and then recognizing that it's a part of human experience to feel this way. So I hope that's helpful, and I could talk so much more about this and about how it affects relationships, which in fact I will do at some point. But I hope that was useful to you today, and would love to hear back from you. Take care.